All right. Good afternoon, morning, whenever you are looking at this video. This video is if you missed the sedimentary rock lab that we did the other day. So here is the title page, and I'm gonna go through this, and you will have to click pause in order to get all of this. So don't feel rushed. But the warm up is how are sedimentary rocks formed? You have key terms there: clastic, organic, and chemical. So, how are sedimentary rocks formed? This is something that you will have to know for the end of unit test. Pretty simple. Here it is: weathering, erosion, deposition, compaction, and sedimentation. You must know all five of those things. Okay. Um, Next is your table of contents. So your table of contents should look like this currently. We've done 5 things in the Sedimentary Rock Lab. Again, your page numbers are going to be different for everybody. All right, so let's get into the lab. And this should be the first page that you taped in, okay? And before you get started, make sure you have these bottles here um, that are located on the counter in front of you because you're going to need them, okay? So let's go back to this reading here. Sedimentary Rock Lab, Reading and Lab Directions Part 1. In the last lab, you learned about igneous rocks, but igneous rocks are only one of the 3 main rock groups. Another group of rocks are called sedimentary rocks. Where do these rocks form? How can they be identified? All rocks break, but some rocks break more easily than others. Landslide, wind, and water help break rock into smaller pieces. And as this happens, these particles break into varying sizes: sand, pebble, gravel, and clay. Procedure 1. Look at the different particle sizes given to you, and on the line below, record the particle sizes in order from largest to smallest. This is what I'm talking about here. What what are the largest particle sizes that you see in these bottles? Which one? Okay? Followed by the next biggest, the next biggest, the next biggest, so forth, so on. Okay? So pause it, put them in order, and let's see if you get it right. Okay, so now we're going to put these in order, and again, we're going to list them on this line right here. Okay? So the first one that you should have had is pebble. After that is gravel. After gravel is sand. And after sand is clay. So on this line here, you should have written pebble, gravel, sand, and clay. Okay? All right. Now, you can keep these out because these will help you identifying the particle sizes of the different rocks that we're going to look at. Now we're moving on to the next part. Reading. From these varying particle sizes, sedimentary rocks are born. These particles become cemented together over time to form the large variety of sedimentary rocks we see on Earth today. But how can sedimentary rocks be identified? Is there a connection between where they form and how they form? You will be taking a look at 6 sedimentary rocks today to figure this out. Procedure 2. Examine rocks 1 through 4. For the first column, draw a picture of your rock and try to be as accurate as possible and show the different particles that you may see. For column 2, list which particles, gravel, pebble, clay, and sand, you think are represented in this rock as well as their texture. After making your observations, read the descriptions of the 4 rocks below and try to label which of the 4 rocks matches each of your observations. Identify the rock as being clastic, organic, or chemical. So, that little diagram chart that you have, I didn't make a copy of it, but it should look something like this. Okay. Now my drawing obviously isn't a drawing; it is a picture. Okay. But what I want you to do is make a quick drawing here. Talk about what particle sizes these rocks have. Read a description that I'm going to show you in just a second and try to name the rock. Then tell me, in this section, is it clastic, organic, or chemical? Okay. So on the counter, you have these rocks. This is rock 1, 2, 3, and 4. Okay. So start with rock 1. look at it, tell me what type of particle size does it have? Does it have sand, gravel, pebble, or clay? Is it coarse grain, fine grain, jagged, or rounded? So list that here. Make your drawing. Look at this rock and make your drawing here. Now read the descriptions here. Breccia contains gravel and pebble-sized particles. In breccia, the particles have sharp angles and are not well rounded. Conglomerate contain gravel and pebble-sized particles. In conglomerate, the particles are well rounded and there are no sharp angles. Sandstone feels rough like sandpaper. These particles are sand-sized. Shale feels smooth. The particles are in it are clay-sized. So, go get rock number 1. Look at it. Make your observations. Make your drawing in the chart here. Name it from these descriptions here. And then tell me, is it clastic, organic, sedimentary, clastic, organic, chemical in this section here. Okay? Pause the video, work your way through the first 4 rocks. Click play when you're ready to begin. Okay, so hopefully you've gotten this all completed. Okay, so let's go ahead and look at rock number 1. Rock number 1 is sandstone. It is clastic. It has sand-sized particles that are fine-grained and rounded. Rock number 2 is shale. Oh, and by the way, sandstone is a clastic sedimentary rock. It is a clastic sedimentary rock because it formed as sand-sized particles were compressed and cemented together. Shale is also a clastic sedimentary rock. It formed as clay-sized particles were compressed, cemented together. It has no visible grain and is also jagged. Next rock number 3 is breccia. Breccia is clastic. Breccia formed as sand, gravel, and pebble-sized particles were compacted, cemented together. It is also coarse grained and jagged. And your last rock is conglomerate. Rock number 4 is also clastic. It formed as sand, gravel, and clay-sized particles were compacted and cemented together. So, you may have to pause this and go back and make sure you have all of these written into your notebook. You're going to need this information in order to fill out the Google form that's posted in Google Classroom, and that is for a grade. So as soon as you are done with this lab, use this information to do the Google form on Google Classroom. It is titled Sedimentary Rock Lab. Okay, take your time, use your notes to get it done. Okay. All right, so go over this again. Rock number 1 is sandstone. Rock number 2 is shale. Rock number 3 is breccia. And rock number 4 is conglomerate. On to part 2. Sedimentary Rock Reading Lab and Directions Part 2. You've discovered that particle size is an important factor in identifying rocks, but it's not the only way. In the mineral labs, you've learned that simple tests might be used to identify certain minerals. Simple tests can also be used to identify certain rocks. You'll be given 2 rocks and hydrochloric acid. For each rock, observe what type of rock they are made of. For the acid test, place several drops of acid and observe what happens. Now, I put up the hydrochloric acid, so you'll just have to listen to what the results show. Write your observations down in the chart. When you're finished, rinse the rock. You don't have to do that. Make your observation, read the description of the 2 rocks below, and try to label which of the 2 rocks matches each of your observations. So here are the 2 that are left. Coquina forms when many different kinds of small shells are cemented together. It contains large amounts of calcite. Shell limestone is made of seashells. You can't see these shells because they are broken into fine particles, which then become cemented together. So here's rock number 5. It's on the counter. Go look at it. Okay. Also grab rock number 6. Make sure you put them back in the correct bins when you are done. So here's 5. Here's 6. Okay, so when you test these 2 rocks, what happens? They both bubble and fizz. That tells you it has a lot of calcite in them, okay? So, rock number 5 is shale limestone. It is organic in this case, but it also can be chemical, okay? It can be chemical if it forms from evaporation, leaving sediments down in the after the water evaporates out, or falls out of the water, precipitates out of the water. So, shale limestone is sand-sized, gravel-sized pieces of seashell, and yes, it did react to acid. Rock number 6 is coquina. It is strictly organic. It also had a reaction to acid, and it had sand, pebble-sized pieces of seashells. Okay, so make sure you copy this down into your notebook and you have this information correct. Okay, so again, rock number 5 is shale limestone, 6 is coquina. So to review, the first 4 rocks that we looked at, sandstone, shale, breccia, conglomerate, these are clastic sedimentary rocks. They're clastic sedimentary rocks because the sediments that make up these rocks were compacted, deposited, compacted, and cemented together. Okay? Rocks 5 and 6, here's 5 and 6, are organic because they come from once living things. They were compacted and cemented together. Okay? So this is a lab. Again, please put up all the rocks. Make sure everything's put back nice and neat. Go ahead and get on Google Classroom and complete the Sedimentary Rock Google form. Have a great rest of your day.